using $15 billion a year. And as I said, that's a conservative number, because health care for a family of 5 will cost us far more than $500 a month. More to the point, only those illegals who obtain their jobs fraudulently, using false papers, actually pay any taxes at all. And those people are taking jobs from American workers who could really use them in today's economy. All the while, a shadow population equal to almost 5% of our total population is out there, making it exceedingly difficult to track down any criminals who may be living among them. What am I saying? Maybe? They are criminals. They broke the law to get into the U.S. Now let's focus just on the crimes against people and property. In 2002, Park Ranger Chris Eggle, working in the Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument in southern Arizona, was gunned down by coyotes, the people who smuggle illegal aliens into the country. In 2001 alone, over 200,000 illegal aliens were apprehended just that one year. 200,000. Tani Natividad, a 16-year-old high school student in Arizona, was murdered by Max Lamadrid, an illegal alien who escaped across the Mexican border. Requests for extradition were made by Arizona. Those requests were denied and blocked by the Mexican courts. They actually wanted to send us one of their nationals. They refused. But when we want them to stay out, the Mexican government calls us racists. In 2002, the Salvadoran street gang made up of illegals gang raped 2 teenage girls not far from here in Massachusetts. The girls were aged 14 and 17. They both had cerebral palsy and were deaf. LA County Sheriff's Deputy David March was killed by a Mexican drug dealer during a routine traffic stop. Armando Garcia escaped back into Mexico, and extradition is being refused. Does anyone see a pattern? Jose Carcamo had 17 violations between 1995 and 2002. Immigration officials twice began deportation proceedings, which were never completed. In 2002, he was driving drunk in Detroit, going 75 in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. He hit a vehicle driven by 18-year-old Trisha Taylor, who lost both her legs above the knees. Her companion, Noah Minad, suffered a fractured skull and collarbone, as well as requiring 8 pins to reconstruct his mangled elbow. Ron Cornell, age 16, was murdered by Gonzalo Villalobos in 1998. His murderer escaped to Mexico. Extradition was again refused. Sister Helen Chaska, a Roman Catholic nun, was murdered in late summer 2002 by being strangled with her own rosary beads. The beads were found embedded in her neck. She was also raped, as was another nun who had accompanied Sister Helen during walking trips. Both women were in Klamath Falls, Oregon, doing missionary work at the times of murder. Her murderer was named Maximiliano Espanza. He was in the United States illegally and had been convicted in 1998 of robbery and kidnapping in Los Angeles. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison, was released in 92, and was on probation until 95. By law, this man should have been deported to Mexico in 92 upon his release. Instead, the INS allowed him to remain in the United States and commit even more heinous crimes. And the list goes on and on and on. After Governor Jen Napolitano gave up her job running the state of Arizona in order to become our completely incompetent Homeland Security Secretary. And remember, she fought with the government of Mexico over the extradition of murderers back in Arizona. Well, along came Jan Brewer. Governor Brewer pushed the state legislature to pass a law allowing Arizona police officers to check on the residency status of people who are stopped or arrested for various infractions, violations, misdemeanors, and felonies. Well, immediately, the left-wing Bird Brigade began an insane screeching using all the various code words with which they have been falsely pounding real Americans for decades. Racism, intolerance, discrimination, and anything else they could think of. It took the Obama administration months, but they eventually filed a lawsuit against the state of Arizona seeking to have the Arizona immigration law declared unconstitutional. Unconstitutional! Can anyone name the last time the Obama administration or its unindicted congressional co-conspirators ever showed any genuine concern for the Constitution? and yet they jovially run to the courts asking to have laws which interfere with their political agendas nullified. When it comes to their actual constitutional obligations, however, liberal politicians have no moral qualms about ignoring what they are required to do. They claim in court that immigration is a federal obligation, yet they continually find reasons to refuse to go after illegals or their employers, to release illegals who are caught, to refuse to prosecute illegals committing crimes, and to let Mexico get away with ignoring their obligations to extradite murderers and other violent criminals back to the United States. Despite their refusal to ensure domestic tranquility and to provide for the common defense in the words of the preamble to our Constitution, the feds are jealous of their powers. It is apparent that the Obama administration has gone into an absolute apoplexy with regards to Arizona, authorizing its police agencies to do one simple thing: enforce federal laws by doing exactly what federal authorities are permitted to do. There's no valid civil rights argument to be made, no question of discrimination, no legal basis for a lawsuit whatsoever. Almost 70% of Americans support the Arizona law and oppose a lawsuit attacking it. Yet Barack Obama insists on using taxpayer money to pay for a lawsuit, the sole purpose of which is to make it easier for illegal aliens to remain in this country, to use services paid for by American taxpayers, and to thumb their noses at our laws. And of course, the old excuse for justifying illegals coming to the U.S. and working here is that Americans just won't do certain jobs. Really? In these tough economic times? The government claims that unemployment is under 10%, which is bad enough, but that number's a lie. When the government talks of the unemployed, it refers to those categorized as actively seeking employment. It doesn't mean those who have given up because there are no jobs left where they live. In actuality, roughly 20% of the working age American populace has no paid employment. That's 1 out of every 5 American adults not yet employed. 1 out of every 5 Americans is being supported by tax money, not because they don't want to be working, but because the government has destroyed their ability to find work. These are people who are not only contributing to the economy through productivity, not only not contributing to the economy through productivity, but they're people who are not paying the government for government services along with the rest of the population, and they are being supported by the very government which created their lack of employment in the first place. Now, I don't blame the unemployed. I blame the government, which has obviously never heard the phrase lead, follow, or get out of the way. Seeing how incompetent Washington is at handling economic issues, and taking into account what the Constitution has set forth as the role of the federal government, get out of the way would seem to be the proper path for our illustrious ship of state to take during an economic crisis, or any time else for that matter. But we are now living in very dangerous times. Our own government has become the primary enemy of our freedom. Members of Congress who enable this president's anti-American agenda are complicit in enabling his socialist agenda. They are the accomplices in what is the greatest Ponzi scheme humanity has ever seen. They are involved in a conspiracy to deprive the American people of their constitutional rights. People like Scott Murphy are doing this. People who give Obama everything he wants despite the will of the American people. The Declaration of Independence, the document that created the United States of America, tells us that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. When every public opinion poll tells us that Americans don't want Obamacare, don't want us to turn a blind eye to the illegal alien problem, don't want us to subjugate our sovereignty to the United Nations, don't want us to ruin our economy to stop the non-existent threat of global warming. When the American people don't want these things, then congressmen like Scott Murphy force them down our throats anyway. Their commitment to their office, and indeed the very legitimacy of the entire Congress, is called into question. When a representative body deliberately refuses to represent the will of the people, what are voters to think? What are we to do? The question we all have to ask ourselves is whether we are going to allow those who despise our values to take our nation from us, to rob our children of their rightful inheritance? Or will we stand and fight for our legacy of liberty with every fiber of our beings? Because that is what this is going to take. That is the true price of freedom. With all due respect to Thomas Jefferson, eternal vigilance just isn't enough. Watching out for the scoundrels is not enough. Seeing that what they are doing to our nation is not enough. Fighting them tooth and nail with every legal and moral resource at our disposal is what it takes. Protesting, letter writing, talking to our neighbors and friends and relatives, making sure that the right candidates run for office, and getting those who are willing to vote for them to the polls in November. Keeping informed, keeping active in the political process, that is what we need to do. Refusing to stay quiet and docile in the face of hostile attempts to shut us up. That and more is the price of freedom. The question is, are there enough of us willing to pay that price? Are you willing to pay that price? Thank you.